Allison, would you mind bringing us into today's awkward story?
Yes. Now that we're back, here's
We're back.
what the author had to say. I think I need some advice. This year was the third year in a row my boss hasn't given me a raise. With inflation rising every year, and this year jumping to 7 to 8%, some people online are saying not getting a raise to keep up with inflation, it's almost like getting a pay cut. Do you agree? Is it a reasonable expectation that salaries keep up with inflation? Don't get me wrong. I live comfortably and below my means. I like to save a good portion of my paycheck for a rainy day, but haven't been able to save as much lately since my expenses are rising. Should I talk to my boss about this? I guess it's less about the money than just my feeling of being undervalued.
You know, I got real strong theater kid vibes from you right there. I was like, which way should we go?
That is not how I sounded. I was just trying to just get across the emotions that this person is feeling. Undervalued. I mean, listen to these words they use. Undervaluable, undervalued. Don't get me wrong. Advice. I need advice. This is clearly someone who has a lot of feelings.
Yes, I'm happy you recapped a little bit because I was very distracted by what you were saying to be able to kind of respond to this. Here, you kick it off because you got me too distracted with your theater performance. So what are your thoughts for this person? Hearing this, what are your thoughts on inflation, asking for raises, the difficulty in approaching these type of conversations? So tell me what you think about this.
So my thoughts are, yes, you're getting paid less. Like, to me, it's math. And if inflation has jumped up, what is it at right now? Like 8.6% at the time of this recording. Yeah, last report at the time of this recording was 8.6%. So if you're getting a 5%, even if you're getting a 5% raise, you're not really getting a raise. Like, stop celebrating that. It's not, your money's not going to do as much, right? Number one. And then number two, this person hasn't gotten a raise at all. So that's to me, that's ridiculous. Yeah,
that's a long time to go without a raise.
3 years in a row without getting a raise. So my thought is, yes, it is past time to have this conversation, because ultimately, I mean, the fact that you're feeling being undervalued, like, I don't think that's a feeling. I think that's you are being undervalued.
Yeah, it's not a positive experience.
Yeah, it's not like just your feeling. It is truth. The truth is that you're being undervalued by 8.6% just in the past year alone. So I think that everyone should be really looking at their income, especially just today in this day and age, and with everything that's happened. You need to be looking at your income. You need to be looking at your past raises, your past increase in your income, and you need to be figuring out, okay, how do I approach this? Because every work situation is different with how you're going to be approaching this. What do you think, Chris?
Oh, yeah, no, I agree. But I've been nerding out on inflation, Allison.
Oh, yeah, you have.
I've been nerding out on it. I've been doing a lot of research, going to the Bureau of Labor Statistics. They're the organization that collects all this data. I think I mentioned it before. I used to run payroll departments. I was like my day job. Yes. I did that for 7 years. And my last job where I worked there for about 4, I would get these pieces of mail from the Bureau of Labor Statistics. And they would ask me information about the staff, like how many people do you have, how blah blah blah, gender breakdown, all this stuff. They would ask me these questions, and I'd mail it back to them. And so when you go to their site, you get to see all this data they collect. And I think so. Inflation, for sure, prices are high. Like, go to the grocery store, go to the gas station, prices are for sure higher than they were before. But I think one of the things that gets kind of misconstrued about inflation is that when you hear 8.6%, you think everything went up by 8.6%.
Exactly.
But in reality, it's some things went up by more, some things went up by less, and they do this whole weighting system. And so some things carry more weight in the calculation than others. And so, for example, like if you looking at housing and new and used cars, they make up over 2.5% of that 8.6%. So if you have a house, your mortgage isn't going up. If you're not buying a car, then you're not.
Well, your mortgage isn't going up, but your taxes are. Well, and if you live in a state with high tax payments,
I forget about that. I have the California bias where our property taxes can only go up by 2% a year. So I forget about you Texans, and it's just the Wild West out there.
I know. Ours is, it goes by your home value, and it's 10% a year. I can't. You can
10% a
contest it.
year?
Yes.
Oh my
You
god,
can
that's
contest it as long as it didn't go not your taxes, but the home's value, like what it's valued at. So it when we got our statement back, it was like, here's where your home's value is, and it was way more than 10%, but here's where we're taxing you at. And it was
ooh,
lower because it was only 10% higher than the previous year. It was exactly
got it.
10%
Okay.
higher.
What's
But
that
still,
money?
I mean, it increases your it's if you have escrow, it increases that monthly escrow payment.
Yeah, it's still something. So yeah,
It
but
is.
regardless of how the calculation works, things are getting more expensive,
Mm-hmm.
and there's been so many studies that have shown that people who stick around at jobs for
Yep.
extended periods of time make less money than those people who hop around
Mm-hmm.
every few years strategically. I know for me, I
Mm-hmm.
probably would change. I change jobs probably every 3 years. Like in the 3 to 4 year range, I would switch and get a new job, partially because I was bored, but then also to get more money. And the raises I got were far higher than what they were willing to
Yep.
give me at my day job. Because they're like,
Yep.
look, we're going to give you the barest minimum we have to based off of what we've
Mm-hmm.
agreed to for with our employees. But you're not going
Yep.
to get like a drastic, 10% raise. That's not happening. So
Mm-hmm.
if after 3 years they didn't give me a raise at all, I would then consider looking for another job because
Mm-hmm.
clearly they don't value you enough, even given what's
Yes.
going on, to give you a little
Mm-hmm.
bit more money. And even here, look, we have Michelle.
Yes,
She,
Michelle.
she said my daughter did that and skyrocketed to way more than my salary.
Yes, it is so true. It is absolutely true. And even like as a former teacher, we would change school districts
Hmm.
because so in Texas, you can't like go in and say, I'm going to negotiate my salary. Like that is not a thing as a
Yeah, no.
teacher. You go in and it's just a salary pay schedule, right? You have this pay schedule. If you have 0 years experience all the way to, whatever, 30 years experience, here's how much you're going to get paid. But then from that, you get this step. But every year, usually, they release a new salary schedule and they might give you a raise, but that new salary schedule for a new employee might be higher than the raise you're getting.
Yeah.
So if you move from a school district, you could get a raise just from moving to a school district. So when I moved from one school district to another school district, same amount of experience, everything, I took a $10,000 raise
Wow.
because that school district paid more and there was no way I could have ever gotten to that. Number one, they paid more, but number two, once they retain you, they don't give you as much of a step as they do to the new employees coming in.
Hmm.
So it's like in your benefit, but people don't want to do it because it's change, and
It,
change is uncomfortable.
and I mean, and it can be scary. Like, I don't really want to discount the feelings of like fear you have because you're obviously stepping out and away
Mm-hmm.
from a place that at least you feel secure. You know the routine. You know your
Mm-hmm.
coworkers. You
Yep.
may like them, you may not, but you know who they are.
Yep.
And it's hard. It's hard to be like, okay, I'm going to leave the known to step out into
Mm-hmm.
the unknown for the potential for more money and not knowing if you end up in
Ah,
I'll say let's just say for more money, but with the
okay.
potential to be in a maybe a worse environment. Like it is a
Mm-hmm.
risk, but you kind of have to weigh. Like, do your current
Mm-hmm.
situation? What's worse, sitting here feeling kind of let down and unappreciated and not getting any type of increase, or going and finding something else, a potentially better situation? And I think that's the
Yes.
analysis you have to make in your mind of what's worse
Mm-hmm.
for you. What would be worse for you, staying where you are or taking a chance and finding something else? But I get it; it's scary. There's all the talk of a recession coming. There's
Mm-hmm.
the job market starting to slow a little bit. You're seeing people have offers like frozen or rescinded, and things are happening.
Mm-hmm.
So I get it, and you want to be strategic and careful and
Right.
cautious and protect yourself. But at the same time, you can't be so afraid that you kind of let workplaces take advantage of the fact that
Yeah.
they don't think you're going to go anywhere.
And you know what else is scary? Not being able to pay your bills
Yeah, that is
because your
very scary.
everything keeps increasing, but your job isn't paying you more. So I say to the person that called in, like, number one, um, your feelings are valid. Absolutely. Like your
Oh
feelings,
yeah,
like you're not,
for sure.
I feel like sometimes people might be like, oh, but be thankful for what you have and be grateful for what you have, which is, yes, absolutely. Be
Yeah,
grateful for what you have. But just because you do feel undervalued doesn't mean you can't feel grateful for the position and for the job you have at the same time. Those feelings are
exactly.
allowed to live within you simultaneously. So, number one, if anyone says to you like, oh no, but just be thankful that you have a job. Okay, yeah, I am thankful that I have a job. However, I also do feel undervalued, and that is also a real feeling. So number
Mm,
one, I think that I would feel exactly the same way, I think. And then number two, I would say absolutely, you need to go in and set up a meeting with your boss. Now, I don't think you should go into this meeting with nothing prepared or
Yes.
not really knowing what to say. I think you need to do your homework on, actually like how your finances have been impacted, about inflation,
Mm.
and then going in and saying, even just like competitor analysis. Hey, there's a job available over here in this like similar work area or doing this, and they're paying more, and I want to stay here. I want to be a part of this company. However, I also need to be able to meet my needs and my family's needs. And
Exactly.
being able to
Exactly.
go in and in a very respectful way ask for that raise.
Yes. See, I love that, because you can't go in there being all like disgruntled and angry, because that nobody doesn't get you
It's not
anywhere
going to
when
get
you
you
come in
anywhere.
there and be
Yeah.
like, how dare you use me for 3 years and think
How
I won't leave you?
dare you?
I'm out. No, it's like, I mean, there's been times where I wanted to say that, but it probably
Mhm.
isn't the most strategic way to go in there and do it. But
Mhm.
I think what you put that was very well said. Going in there
Thank
with
you.
something to back up your request. And I've heard that so many times when
Mhm.
people discuss career advancement and job
Mhm.
hunts and all that stuff. One really cool tip that I heard from someone, Rich Jones. He's the host of, it was called Paychecks and Balances. I believe it is the
Yes.
mental wealth show
Yes.
now. And he was worked as a recruiter for years with Google. And one of the things he said is that he does is he has a Google sheet or Excel document or Word document, whatever, some document on his computer. And in there,
Mhm.
he just writes down little notes of projects he's completed. So it's like, I completed this project. It took me this long. This is what it accomplished. And it was on this date. And he just keeps a running list of anything. He's like,
Mhm.
big or small, just write it down, because you're not going to remember in 6 months what you did at
Yes.
work. You just moved on to the next thing. And he said, then when it's
Mhm.
time for the evaluation, when it's time to ask for something, you pull that document out, you go through, you review it, you clean it up, and you use that as your tool to go in there and make a
Mhm.
case for a raise. Because if you just go in and say, I want a raise because I'm a good employee and I work hard, they're going to be
Yeah.
like, yeah, so does everyone else. Get out of here. But
Yeah.
if you have some real concrete evidence of why
Mhm.
you're a good worker, what you contribute, then it gives you at least something. It doesn't, it's not going to fix a horrible boss and who's never going to give you a raise anyways. But
Right.
if you're with a fair boss who's going to listen to you, it
Mhm.
gives you some ground to ask for it, and you might be able to
Mhm.
convince them.
Yes. And think of this meeting as like a puzzle, and you need
Mm,
different pieces to put together to complete the puzzle to be able to state your case. And so that's one piece of the puzzle. Another piece is researching, inflation. Another piece might be like positive performance reviews or emails back
yeah.
from, if you work with clients, just their satisfaction. I mean, there's lots of pieces in there, researching other things. But I mean, you're absolutely right. There's people that I guess what I should say is I think it's uncommon now to start a job and stay there until you retire.
Yeah,
That's like what
especially
our
for people in
parents.
our generation
Yeah,
and
that's like
younger.
kind of like a boomer thing where you have this almost like this commitment and this
Yes.
comfort level with a company, and in the past the companies would treat you well. Like I know my granddaddy, he was treated very well. He worked with the same place for a very long time, and he has an amazing pension, right? Like an amazing pension.
Yeah.
Those things, like it doesn't work the same way anymore. That's not what life is like. We aren't given those same things. And so just like you are replaceable as an employee, so is your company that you work for. You can find another company out there. The people you work for are also replaceable, and there doesn't like it's not like the end all be all in terms of that. And it's okay to change positions. It's okay to change jobs, but there, like you said, there is fear. There is this discomfort in it. But I also have found that that's where growth happens.
Yeah, no, I agree. And also, I want to give some acknowledgement here. So Michelle, she's raising her hand. She said she's starting her 28th year at her employer.
Wow.
And I think there's nothing wrong if you find a
No.
workplace that you like and it works well, they
Mm-mm.
treat you well, you feel respected, you feel like you're paid well,
You feel
you
valued.
feel valued. I think there's nothing
Yep.
wrong with staying in that situation whatsoever.
Mm-hmm.
The job I just left, I was there for almost exactly 4 years. And if it
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't have been for me transitioning to this other work, I probably would have been there for a long time, just because
Mm-hmm.
I felt extremely valued there. I had an amazing boss, amazing coworkers. I loved it there, and
Mm-hmm. I know it was really hard for you to leave.
it was
We
it was
had
a
a lot of conversations about it.
we talked a lot. You're like, Chris, if you left
We
your job, I was like,
we
calm
talked
down,
for like
Allison. I,
Chris, how long have I known you? I've known you since when?
what,
2000,
2017? Something like that?
2017, 2018?
Something like that.
And probably we started having this conversation around 2019.
Yeah, probably.
And it kind of just slowly started. And then it really started to pick up in like 2020, and they just kept, I mean, it was like, and I think that's the difference also in like Michelle, who she even said, I get 5 weeks paid vacation, um all of these things. Like I'm assuming that Michelle doesn't feel like that, she does feel valued, that she is in a good position, but this person here is saying, that is making them feel undervalued. And you know what, also, your boss sometimes, just even I think of it as a parent, sometimes it's not in our vision. So it's not in our vision of what someone else might be dealing with. So your boss might not, I mean, hopefully they do, but they might need that brought to their attention. Just like,
Yes.
children sometimes, like, I know my kids will bring to attention some of the things that I'm doing. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that's, I don't want as a parent to make you feel like that, or that was not my intention
Yeah.
to say that and make you feel that way, or do that and make you feel that way. And I want to be a better parent. And I would hope that a boss would receive it like that.
Yeah, you hope so. And I mean, you end up with situations like I just put Angie's comment up there. She said, over 21 years here, I'm assuming at her day job. And she said, it does depend on the boss. 5 years with the one who undervalued me, and the rest of the time with a new one who treats me right. Love my job, the people, and happy. And that's the thing. The one thing about being somewhere long term is that you can experience turnover. Like, you may be happy in your situation. So my job, I think I started there in like 2014, I think is when I started at this one particular place. And the first year there, I loved it. It was hard. I was getting it was a struggle to learn what I was doing, but I had really great people around me. And then they just started dropping like flies. And literally within about a year and a half, I was almost the most senior person in the department because everyone left.
That's hard.
And it completely changed. We had someone in there who was, should people? No, they were crazy. Like they were, it was ridiculous. They treated
of all the
people so
words
poorly.
you could have used, it's okay that you used that one, Chris. I like how you were going to censor the word crazy. Can we just take a moment? Can we just take a moment to realize that Chris was going to censor the word crazy? Should I say it? I don't know.
Well,
I'm trying to be appropriate.
Trying to be
but
sensitive.
Let's say it. She was crazy. He was crazy.
I mean, like, it was one of those things where I remember there was the person over the department, over the whole organization. They said, look, we know there's a lot of turnover in your department. If you need anything, just come to me and let me know. I was like, okay. I was young and naive. So the person they brought in, they were temporary. They were horrible to work for.
Oh gosh.
Horrible. They were like threatening people. They were like,
goodness.
they fired someone. Oh, well, it was a lot of drama. It's a lot of drama, but anyway, I'll get to the point. Anyways,
you could have used a stronger word.
Yeah. Well, this person, they were kind of being just like irresponsible, and it was just making everything run horribly. So and after they fired that person for no real reason, I went to the person, head of the organization. He said, come talk to him. I went and talked to him and said, this is what's going on. It's not a good situation. People are being treated very poorly. They're very unhappy. I just let it all out. He was like, thank you for telling me. I'll address it. Tell me why. 2 days later, she calls me into her office and she was like, so I heard that you went and talked to the head and that, you mentioned some things, that you had problems in the department. And then she proceeded to basically threaten my job. She was like,
oh my goodness.
She said, the person who they let go of, who I work with a lot, everyone loved in the department. She was like, well, that person doesn't pay your bills, right? They don't pay your bills. They don't take care of you. Did you want to kind of put yourself out like that for them? And I was like, are you threatening me? She was like,
my gosh.
no. I was like, well, it kind of sounds like you're threatening me. She's like, no. I was just trying to, let you just talk to you about this. And I was like, no. So you can end up in situations like that. I've been there where I've loved a place and then it slowly just turns to garbage and you got to get out of there, which I did. But yeah, like that's the thing. Like that's why I'm like, keep your options open. You don't have to leave a good situation, but always be kind of working in the background, pick up some skills, do some extra education, go to some seminars, some conferences, get some certifications, do these things so that you're still marketable. Because the last thing you want to do is just sit there and get stagnant and be in a place where you're not marketable anymore. So that would be my only advice. Like, if you're like, I love where I'm at, you don't have to quit, but you have to be mindful. Things can change very quickly.
And also on that note is I know that I fell into this belief that, oh my gosh, I'm a teacher. There's nothing else I could possibly do, right?
Yes. Yeah.
You have more skills than you think you do. You can
100%.
do more jobs than you probably give yourself credit for. This is turning into like a pep talk.
I know it is,
If
right?
you're going to go in, you're going to ask for a raise, and if they say no, you're going to go find yourself a job, and you are marketable. And anyway, it obviously the listener doesn't have to do this, but regardless, I think that is a it's just a common belief, a common misbelief that people have, a misconception. And it's one that I had for years and years and years and years. And I battled for years before when I started questioning my job as a teacher, year number 2.
Oh my God.
I was a teacher for 10 years. Kristen, I know this. Most people actually don't know this.
You spent 8 years being like, I hate this.
So in the second year of my teaching, I'll never forget, I had a mentor person, and I remember being like, this is not for me. Like, I really think I made a massive mistake in my life. And I remember she said, can I come over? And she came over to my apartment. Matt was there. She brought us Olive Garden for dinner, and she sat down at my table, and I just cried. And she was like, Allison, you're so good at this. Like, just hold on, just keep doing it. Like, it's just hard at first, but you're like, this is what you're meant to do. I can just tell, I know it, da, da, da. And then every year for maybe about 4 months out of the school year, which the school year is August, September, October, November, December, January, February, March, April, 10 months long.
You have a rhyme for that to count the month in the school
year?
I
guess I could just think summer is 2 months.
That also
12
works.
minus 2 is 10. That also works. But 4 out of it's almost half of the time, I would like stay up late Googling, like, what do I want to do? I mean, I just really questioned it. What am I going to do? What am I going to do? I looked into like being a corporate trainer. I looked into doing like all of these things, but I felt like I had I felt like I had nothing that I could do. I really did. I felt like I had no skill set, which is just a complete misconception, a complete lie. But I think nowadays it's easier to just learn about. I think there's just more people talking about like what you can do and how to market yourself and all these things. So, and then whenever I figured out I was going to do Inspired Budget, I was like, this is the thing. This is it. Yeah. But even some days I'm like, do I really want to keep doing this? And what would I do if I don't?
I mean, that's the truth of it, right? You think, oh, I'll work for myself, but I'll have no worries. Like, no, all those same feelings come right back.
Maybe one day we can do an Ask Me Anything about being an entrepreneur. Maybe that should be a Patreon episode. Tell us, would you like that? A Patreon episode, an Ask Me Anything Patreon episode.
I don't know why we didn't do that before. I think we've kind of asked questions, but we never dedicated a whole. Yes, I like that. Let's do that. Let's
do
on
it.
The list.
Put it on the list. Are you typing? I don't see you typing.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. There we go.
Okay, good. Thanks.
But what you said was so relatable. I know we've been talking about this for a long time. I guess it feels like the passion that we have about talking about this topic is coming out. But I would say that I felt the exact same way, where you don't know what you want. Like the entire time I was in college, the entire time after I graduated college, I have been like, I don't know what I want to do. And
what do I want to be when I grow up?
Yeah, right. People think, oh yeah, you'll figure it out. I was like, no, I had no idea. I still kind of technically don't know what I want to do when I grow up.
You want to be an award-winning podcast host with your best friend, Allison.
Oh, hold on. Let me write that down. but yeah, it is so hard. It is so hard, especially because we end up in these jobs that we're like, how did I get here? You look up and it's like, it's been a couple years. You're like, why am I doing this? How did I start doing this? Like, you don't know.
Exactly.
And then once you're there, you're like, well, I don't know what to do to get out of this. And that's why I think it is so great to hear more and more people talking about this stuff, about how to make yourself marketable, how to make these changes. And I think just the internet has made it so much easier to learn new skills and develop. So
absolutely.
It can be hard. So if you feel like you don't know what else to do, trust me, you're not alone. I know Allison and I felt that same way for decades.
Oh yeah. Mine was not decades, but I mean, it was questioning. And sometimes I even wonder, do I even want to do this job forever? Do I want to, own my own business forever? Do I want to maybe do it for a little bit of time and then go work for another business? I don't know. I like it, so open. I'm happy now.
Yeah,
exactly.
You gotta be okay with knowing things may change, and that's okay.
Yes. All of that to say, advocate for yourself. Inflation has risen, which means that if you have not received that raise, or even, and I feel like we went way,
we kind of went
not off topic, but just surrounding topics.
Yeah.
But I do want to say one thing really quickly is that you could also look at receiving a raise in other types of like benefit packages.
Ooh,
So
good
for
point.
example, my husband, who is a teacher, his district was given a raise this upcoming school year. You know, we do September to September in the teacher world, or September to August. It was not a significant raise. It might have been, I don't remember, maybe 4 or 5%. I don't remember. However, which I was kind of like, ugh, about. I was like, what? This is ridiculous. Ugh. But it's his job, whatever. However, one thing was they are contributing more money towards the health insurance. So that out of pocket, that monthly out of pocket, whatever you call it, what is it, a premium? I don't know, is
Yeah.
reducing. So it was their way of kind of trying to just like add these puzzle pieces together. So if your boss is like, I can't give you a 7% raise, I can't give you an 8% raise, ask for more vacation days, ask for, better coverage on your insurance. Think about what you can ask. Do they will they give you if you have to drive into the office, will they reimburse you for some of your travel expenses? Will they give you money for like health and wellness to help cover like therapy or gym memberships? Be sure to think almost outside of the box. That way, if you don't get everything that you want, you can almost kind of like build it up as like a stacking block of what you like. You like that? Stacking block of what you want.
That's how you stack blocks?
It's all right.
Oh, no, I love that. I'm not adding anything into that. That was perfect. I love that advice. And I hope for our anonymous writer that helps, and give us an update. We want to hear like what are your thoughts? Even if you don't have to make a move or anything right now. We're not making you do anything, but just let us know what you think after hearing this, and if you did make any decisions or decide to take an action on this.
Yes, or if you listen to this episode and you weren't the person that wrote in, but you're like, I am in that exact same position. Send us a message over on Instagram at This Is Awkward Podcast. Let us know what you think about it, and we might even give you a shout out on one of our future episodes.
There you go.
Yeah.